Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Now this month, just like last month, we have so many questions that I'm going to split it into 2 videos. And there are 8 questions total, so this video will have 4 questions, so let's just jump right into it. The first question says, hey Katie, my therapist is expanding her practice. Yikes! I am one of the few clients that my therapist saw while she was on maternity leave. That was really nice of her. Now that she's coming back full time, I know she's opening up way more appointments and taking on many more clients. I'm finding myself suddenly really worried and frantic that I won't be able to get regular appointments with her because my job doesn't always allow me to lock in weekly time slots. Even though I prioritize therapy over almost everything else right now, weeks when I don't see her can be quite emotionally disruptive. I'm probably overreacting, but I can't seem to shake the panic of it all. Should I bring this up with her? Do I need to? Yes, you need to bring it up with her. This feeling that you're having is completely normal. It's really interesting, the relationship with our therapist and how we can feel. I have clients, for instance, that don't even like that I see anybody else, and that kind of bothers them and they don't know why. And we've talked about it, and a lot of it has to do with attachment or wanting to know that I have time for them, or maybe they dealt with neglect growing up. It could be a lot of different things going on, but the feeling is very, very normal. I would encourage you to talk to her because chances are she's already considered that with you. She already knows that it's hard for you to lock in appointments, and she's going to give you flexibility. And not all therapists keep times every week, like I see you every Tuesday at 3. Not every therapist does that. I happen to, but if I have a client who needs more flexibility, I'll work with them and we can move things around, and I can see them at the end of a day or at the beginning, or we can just figure it out and make it work. But it's really important, I think, for you to talk to her so that she can assuage those fears and that panic that you're having, because chances are it's fine and she's already considered it and she'll work with you. But I think that you really probably, what would help most is hearing her say that. Now the next question is, new relationship. I've never been in a proper relationship. My previous ones have always been almost, or just guys pursuing me and me running away. Phew. So while this is exciting, I'm so scared and really worried whether I've made the right decision. I get abandonment thoughts popping up and want to just run away, push the guy away, etc. Any advice? Also, how would you recommend going about telling him your mental health challenges? The truth about relationships is that in order for us to feel comfortable, if we're working on some issues, right? If we have abandonment thoughts popping up, and that's kind of one of the things we're talking about in therapy or struggling with, give yourself time. Know that relationships don't have to be like 100% and we're just moving fast and things are, happening and we're saying I love you right away and we're moving in. Like, you can slow things down and just date and enjoy the getting to know you process, and know that if you're feeling a little bit funny, maybe talk to your therapist about it, talk to a friend. If you find yourself wanting to push away, I would encourage you to journal about it and think about where that's coming from, because the truth of it is, it's not the person that you're with, it's what's going on with you. And so as long as we continue to work on ourselves, I think it's perfectly fine to be in a relationship. Just know that you can go at the pace that's comfortable for you. And every time you want to run away, I would encourage you to breathe, wait, talk to your therapist, talk to your other support system people about it, and know that it's completely okay for that feeling to kind of come and go. We just have to learn how to manage it. And the second part of your question, when should we go about, or how should we go about talking about our mental illness? Wait for it. You'll know when it feels safe. And the truth about it is that I want everyone who's going to bring this up with a loved one to have a good experience. And I know we can't control that. That's just how I feel about it. And the way that I think we can make that most likely to happen is by waiting until we get to know them, so that they're getting to know us, so that some of the behaviors that we may be struggling with or the symptoms of our mental illness, they've seen. They recognize, they've been with you. So when you talk about it, you can reference examples and tell them what you're doing to make it better. And know that that's completely okay. And it's okay to tell them little bit by little bit and not have to tell them all at once. But before you ever tell them anything, just like I always recommend, I would write down what it is you want them to know. I would write down what it is you need from them, and then I would practice saying it, keeping in mind what you think they're going to say back to you. That way, when you go into it, you're fully prepared and you feel completely in control, and you make sure you get your point across. And the third question is, so I'm doing inner child therapy with my counselor, and I bought my inner child a gorgeous reborn, made to look real doll. I'm so attached to her now, and I feel that she's a key part of my process. So I'm going to take her to my next session and talk to my counselor about how stupid I feel / try to get past that barrier by talking it through. My question is, have you ever had clients who brought in dolls or similar, and what was your reaction if so? My first thought about this is great and this is amazing. I haven't had clients bring in dolls. However, I have had a lot of different things go on. For instance, I've had clients bring their close friend or their husband or their wife or whoever with them to do some of the things they never got to do as a child. Maybe that's like going to Disneyland or going to a different theme park, or maybe it's watching a cartoon movie at the theater and getting popcorn. It could be any number of activities. I've had a lot of clients do things like that. They want to jump into a ball pit. There's a lot of things that our inner child may want to express, and I think it's great for us to engage with that child and to partake in some of those activities, because there's a reason that that's coming up, and there's a reason that it wants to do that, because it never got to. And maybe you never got to have a doll or play with a doll, or maybe that doll represents you and that's your way of, talking through it and expressing with it. And I know it feels and sounds so silly. That's something that a lot of my clients struggle with. Like, well, I'm an adult, I'm a 46-year-old man. I don't want to go to the water park and go down the slides, but I do. And how do I manage that? And so I would really encourage you, like you said, do I have to, should I bring it in? And I want to bring it in and talk about it. Talk about why it's so helpful, what it represents for you, what made you want to buy it. All of those things are really important in the process, because as we just, like in my video that came out about an emotionally absent mother, I talk about remothering ourselves. When we're doing inner child work, we kind of have to allow our inner child to come out and play, to do what feels right for them, because sometimes we never got to do those things, and it feels so healing and can be so powerful in therapy to give us a chance to do it. So I'm glad you got the doll. I would bring it in and I would definitely talk about it. And it's okay to express maybe how silly you feel with it, but how helpful it's been. And it might help you to talk with someone else so you can get a greater understanding of why that is. And the fourth and final question for this video, remember there's going to be another one, so you want to stay tuned for that, is how can I stop being a shitty client in therapy? I don't know why this question just really cracked me up, you guys. But let's get into it. I think it's really important to talk about. It says, I literally don't know what else to do other than to ask you. I always show up. I always pay. I always try my best to engage. And then in parentheses it says, he has never given me homework, but I would do it if he gave me some. I would be more interested. First of all, I would bring this up to your therapist. I would say, I feel like I'm a really shitty client. And the reason that I said this kind of cracked me up is because you honestly can't be a shitty client unless you're being abusive to your therapist or not paying or not showing up. Other than that, as long as you're there and you're trying your best, that's all that we can ask of you. And so you really can't be that way, but I would be more interested as a therapist, if I was your therapist, I'd be more interested in where that's coming from and what expectations do you have for yourself in therapy as well as in life, because chances are if this is coming out in therapy, we're probably really hard on ourselves in life, and we're probably struggling with things like that too, like maybe perfectionism or maybe just negative self-talk and stuff like that. There could be a bunch of things that come out of this, but I would definitely bring it up and know that it's okay and that you're not a shitty client. And I know that I'm not going to convince you by saying that, but by talking about it in therapy, hopefully you can figure out where this thought is coming from and then how we can work on it, be nice to ourselves, soothe ourselves, maybe take care of ourselves until it goes away. Because I want all of you to know, as long as you're showing up and trying your best, you're a wonderful client. That's all we're asking of you. And a lot of times we're asking you really difficult things. So that's why I say as long as you're trying. Things aren't going to go perfectly, and pleasing your therapist isn't something that we're looking for. I'm not looking for you to do everything perfectly. I want you to do the best you can for where you are in the moment. And that's really it. So know that as long as you're just showing up and trying, you're doing great. Thank you so much for your support. I know I say this every month, but I honestly wish I could say it every day. Every video that's created is because of you. It's because you took the time to figure out what the hell Patreon was, to get on, to fill it out, and to donate to the channel. Every video I produce, everything I do every day is because of you. And I know I send the gifts and the letters, but those just it's just not enough. I can't say thank you enough. So Happy New Year. 2017 is going to be amazing, and it's all because of you.